गौरंगगंधा विकगिरिधारी शिशि राधा विनोर बिहारी जू की जाय। नित्याल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपार शतर शत शिशुमार भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोसाई महाराज श्री गुरुदेव की जाय। नित्याल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपार शतर शत शिशुमार भक्ति वेदांत वामन गोसाई महाराज की जाय। नित्याल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपार शतर शत शिशुमार भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज शिल प्रभुपाद की जाय। नित्याल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपार शतर शत शिशुमार भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोसाई महाराज की जाय। नित्याल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपार शतर शत शिशुमार भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई प्रभुपाद की जाय। नित्याल प्रविष्ट महाभगवत शिलगोक्षरस बाबाजी महाराज की जय। नित्याल प्रविष्ट शिल सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। नित्याल प्रविष्ट वैष्णव सार्वभौम शिल जगन्नाथ बाबाजी महाराज की जय। श्री रूपानु गौड़ीय गुरु वर्ग की जय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ शारद गोसाई प्रभु की जय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी श्री गौर पार्षद वृंद की जय। नामचय श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौरमंडल व्रजमंडल मथुर वृंदावन धाम की जय। सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदात गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जय। श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री पूर्णमासी योग माया की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। जय श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। जय श्रीपाद जयानंद प्रभु की जय। जय श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। Okay, we'll do the Mangalacharan and then begin. अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। Sorry, one second. I'm in the middle of my class right now. Can I? Yeah. In the, uh, I, I don't know yet. But I think maybe around 4 o'clock. Okay, I'll call you right after. Okay. I'm really sorry. I had to take that because it was like it could have been urgent. So then I had to take that one. Okay, let me start over. अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकायै तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय राधिकाय प्रियात्मने श्रीश्रीमद्भक्तिवेदान्त नारायणेति नामिने। श्रीकृष्णलीलकथने सुदक्षम् औदार्यमाधुर्य गुणैश्च युक्तं वरं वरेण्यं पुरुषं महन्तं नारायणं त्वं शिरसा नमामि। नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय केशवाभिन्नरूपिणे श्रीश्रीमद्भक्तिवेदान्त वामनेति नामिने। नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनेति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय आचार्यसिंहरूपिणे Shishimar Bhakti Pragyan Keshava iti namine Attimartya Charitraya Swashritanang Chapaline Jivadukhe Sadartaya Shri Nama Premadayane Gaurashraya Vigrahaya Krishna Kamaikacharine Rupanuga Pravaraya Vinodeti Swarupine Prabhupadantarangaya Sarvasharguna Shaline Mayavara Tamoghnaya Vedantartha Vide Namaha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Shivarshabhanavi Devi Daitai Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandhave Jnana Dayane Prapave Namaha Madhuryo Jala Premadya Shirupanuga Bhaktira Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Virudapa Siddhanta Dvantaharine Namo Gaura Kishoraya Shakshad Vairagyamurtaye Vipralambar Sambhode Padambujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gauravirbhava-bhumistang nirdeshta sajjana priya Vaishnava sarvabhauma Shri Jagannataya te namaha Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutte Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vrindayai Tulasi Devai Priyayai Keshavasacha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavatai Namo Namaha Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams, dear devotees, Nri Hari Prabhu and Bhavatarani Mataji. And let me look on, yeah, I forgot to turn on this program, so I can't actually see all the comments. I'm gonna check on YouTube who's all there. um, okay, sorry. Yeah, so we have a change of program today. I decided like a split second before I went live. This isn't for some reason YouTube's not opening up for me. Anyways, yeah, I decided just a split second before I went live that today I just found out that today is the day that Śrīpāda Jayānanda Prabhu is today's the day that he left his body. And a friend of mine sent me on WhatsApp, a friend of mine sent me a little offering about him. And I just decided, I didn't know that it was his disappearance day or anything, and so and I could really, whenever there's an opportunity to glorify the Vaishnavas, we should always take it up. And so I thought, yeah, instead, I'll have to change the title of this video and the thumbnail and all that. But yeah, we're not reading Shikshashtakam today. We will read Shikshashtakam, I guess, when I'm in Radhakund, because I have a train tonight. Tomorrow's Nishinga Chaturdashi. The day after that's a big day. Madhavendra Puri, yeah, Srinivasacharya and Parameshwari Thakur. So I'll probably read about them. And then, so probably in 3 days from now, we'll continue going through Shikshashtakam. But yeah, this thing about Jayananda Prabhu, I haven't read it yet myself. Um, Also, Nuri Hari Prabhu, at the end, or in the middle, or at the end, if there are any things that you want to say about Jayananda Prabhu, also you're fully welcome. All right. And also Bhavatarini Mataji. Yeah. All right. Um, okay, so I can see Vidyalal Siddhiri Dandavat Pranam and Gargarajji Hare Krishna Dandavat Pranam. So as I mentioned, I haven't seen this yet myself. Let me just find it. I just put it on a Word document. Also, this Navadip Parikrama, we did a small Navadip Parikrama. There's like about 60 of us, mostly my god brothers and god sisters, but also devotees from other sanghas. Um, and on the day that we went to Simantadweep, we went to the Rajapur Jagannath Mandir. And at that temple, they have, I'm not sure if it's like, I don't think it's a Pushpa Samadhi or anything, but it's like they made a structure, like a memorial thing for Jayananda Prabhu. And so when we went there, my father, he had a very sweet relationship with Jayananda Prabhu. And Jayananda Prabhu had a big impact to my father's life. And so um, my father, like we were all standing around and he gave such a beautiful glorification of him. And after that, I think like it impacted a lot of people. I mean, some devotees mentioned that to me, that was like a highlight, well, like one of the highlights of the parikrama for them. And also, it was so, I can't explain it. It was so beautiful though, and so like heart melting and inspiring. And so then when I saw today's his disappearance day, and I got this right before I started the program, I thought, no, let's take this opportunity. Um, yeah. So okay, so disappearance day of Shriman Jayananda Thakur. And I haven't read this yet myself. I don't know if anything in here is, yeah. So I'm just letting you know. This is okay. The test of a theory is in its implementation. While one can spend a lot of time analyzing the process of bhakti, faith readily comes when one sees the theory in action. Jayananda Prabhu is such a devotee who exemplified in an almost classical manner the process of bhakti from inception to completion. When he left his body on May 1st, 1977, Srila Prabhupada instructed that his disappearance day should be celebrated as that of a great Vaishnav. Wow, Srila Prabhupada directly ordered that we should celebrate this day. Observing the pastimes of such devotees greatly reaffirms one's faith in the process of bhakti. The backgrounds. I don't know how you say his last name, but Jim Coher was the all-American boy. Handsome, strong, intelligent, born in an upper middle class family, a good student. He took a degree in a good student. He took a degree in mechanical engineering from Ohio State University. However, despite his outward trappings of success, he was often unhappy, empty, and dissatisfied with the material conception of life. Jim did not fit into the upper class crowd, so it was not very surprising that he ended up driving cabs in San Francisco. Though an introspective person, he was not really religious. His depression was almost suicidal when, in 1967, he happened to read, when in 1967, he happened to read a small article in a San Francisco paper about an Indian Swami who had come to the Bay Area to propagate the chanting of the names of God. For some reason, the article ignited a ray of hope within him. He resolved to attend the lecture of the Indian Swami. In the Bhagavad Gita 7:16, Krishna says, "Four kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desire of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute." Jim was searching for answers from the material miseries, and in such a mood, he took his first step toward his destiny. The beginnings. Jim was instantly attracted to the Indian Swami, who is none other than Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of ISKCON. He had been in the USA for only a year and was in the process of establishing his mission of bringing Krishna consciousness to the Western world. Jim began to regularly attend the morning Bhagavatam lectures of Srila Prabhupada. On some occasions, Jim would be the only guest listening to the morning lecture. Soon he became very attached to Srila Prabhupada and his teachings. Prabhupada lovingly reciprocated and would sometimes personally cook prasadam for Jim and serve him. Soon thereafter, Srila Prabhupada accepted Jim as his disciple and initiated him with the spiritual name Jayānanda. In Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 19:151, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that out of many millions of wandering living entities, one who is very fortunate gets an opportunity to associate with a bona fide spiritual master by the grace of Krishna. By the mercy of both Krishna and the spiritual master, such a person receives the seed of the creeper of devotional service. In this way, Jayananda received the seed of devotion out of the causeless mercy of Srila Prabhupada. From the instructions and teaching presented by Srila Prabhupada, he understood his special relationship with Krishna, with Guru, and that there is an authorized process to establish this relationship. Attraction to Krishna consciousness. Jayananda was completely enamored by Krishna consciousness. He would rise every morning before 4, do a little arati, chant his rounds of japa, read, and cook prasad. Then he would go for his incense run, selling incense sticks. He never deviated from this. He was completely happy as long as he was practicing Krishna consciousness. Jayananda worshipped prasadam. When a little prasadam spilled on the floor, he would lick it up. He loved to cook, eat, offer, and distribute prasadam in a big way. He even said the word prasadam with so much love and devotion that it made one immediately want to take some. Another example of his attachment to Krishna consciousness was his love for the holy name. He was always seen chanting and dancing enthusiastically during kirtans. One day, after working hard for 10 hours straight, when all the other devotees were looking forward to some rest, Jayananda enthusiastically bounced into the temple room for kirtan. His japa was very intense, very focused, as he strove to personally associate with each and every syllable of the Mahamantra. In Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami mentions that the process of sadhana bhakti begins with a little faith, shraddha. This faith then blossoms into a desire for devotee association, sadhu sangha, and then into bhajana kriya. the process of devotional service. It's the activities of bhajan. Similarly, Jayananda, after receiving the association of Srila Prabhupada and other devotees at the temple, began to execute devotional service as per the instructions he received from his spiritual master. As he executed his sadhan sincerely, he became purified of the material impediments to devotional service, anartha nivritti, and began to manifest the all-attractive qualities of a pure devotee. Humility. Humility was certainly Jayananda's most prominent quality. He treated everyone as his superior, even new devotees. Although his service was glorious, he never wanted any glory. He avoided praise like the plague. Praise like the plague. Devotees got to know that if they wanted to keep Jayananda's association, they would better not praise him. His humility was very natural, and he always found something other than himself that was praiseworthy. Even though he was a senior devotee, older than most of the people around him, and eminently qualified, he was happy to simply serve. Once, a new boy at the temple wanted to do some service and was asked to help with the trash. The weekly trash run was done by Jayananda, who cheerfully took the little help the boy gave. Later, when the boy became a devotee, he remembered thinking, if the garbage men at this temple can be so blissful, just imagine what the rest of the devotees are like. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the third verse of Shikshashtakam, lays down the qualification for offenseless chanting. Mahaprabhu says, one can chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and ready to offer all respects to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. Jayananda exemplified this verse. He was so humble that just being in his association would make one feel ashamed of one's pride. He was very special, yet no one paid any special attention to him. This was just the way he liked things. Service attitude. Jayananda was an expert at everything: cooking, preaching, deity worship, public relations, sankirtan, selling incense, construction, and anything that it took to spread Krishna consciousness. He was a tireless worker, first to rise in the morning and last to sleep at night. He was always running out to get flowers, washing dishes, cleaning the kitchen, or taking out the trash. Whatever service he was given, he would make sure that it was done, no matter how busy he was or how much personal hardships he had to endure for it. No matter how hard he was working, he would never stop for a nap during the day. He seemed inexhaustible. Many times when Jayananda went to Berkeley to distribute leftover prasadam, he would first organize a crew to clean the kitchen, working twice as hard as anybody else. Then he would transfer the prasadam, load it into the van, drive it to Berkeley, organize a distribution there, and have kirtan while all this was going on. Many years later, he readily accepted the position of the driver for the Radha Damodar traveling Sankirtan party, working side by side with brahmacharis scarcely half his age. In spite of his advanced position and seniority, he never asked anything special and he readily accepted menial position under new devotees. Even though he was so senior and such an advanced position, he readily accepted menial position under new devotees. In the Vishnu Puran, Sri Krishna informs Arjuna that one who claims to be my devotee is not actually my devotee. One who claims to be the devotee of my devotees is in actuality my devotee. Jayananda completely manifested this quality. He was always striving to be the das anudas, the servant of the servant. But there was no artificial humility in him. Material humility is relative. It is predicated on the qualifications of the recipients. And actually, mundane humility, lots of times fake humility is actually the opposite of humility because you're trying to show people you're humble, which is, you only do that if you're proud. You're trying to like show how, yeah, it's like the total. But Jayananda had spiritual humility. It was absolute, without any consideration of the status or qualities of the recipient. He served everyone and expected no one to serve him. The process of remembering, discussing, or enumerating the qualities and pastimes of the Lord and his devotees is very purifying. This week, we continue the discussion of the qualities of Jayānanda Prabhu, who, in the relatively short time that he associated with Krishna consciousness, perfected his devotional service and left us many instructions by example. Freedom from fault finding. My dad spoke about this when we were at when we were on our Navadip Parikrama. Freedom from fault finding. Perhaps the most defining characteristic of Jayananda was that he never criticized anyone. Even if a devotee did something that warranted criticism, he'd usually not say anything, or else make the mistake appear as if something perfectly natural. He never spoke harsh words or chastised anybody. Sometimes devotees would come to him with expansive ideas of how to spread Krishna consciousness. Jayananda would encourage these ideas, however extraordinary, he would encourage them. At the same time, he was not a fool. He could always pick up the right man for the right job for the job. In the Nectar of Instruction, verse 5, Srila Rupa Goswami says, one should associate with and faithfully serve that pure devotee who is advanced in undeviated devotional service and whose heart is completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others. Jayananda could not even bear to hear the criticism of another devotee. If such a thing were happening, he would simply leave the room. These are the characteristics of an Uttam Adhikari, one who has reached the highest level of perfection in a sadhan bhakti. Dear to everyone. I can't say what level he was, if he was Uttamadhikari, Madhyamadhikari, like I'm not in a position to be able to, but I'm just reading what I see here. But who anything's possible, like anything's possible. So yeah. Okay, so dear to everyone. Like the six Goswamis, Jayananda was dear to both the gentle and the ruffians. He was as much at home with the Italians at the produce market as he was with the brahmacharis at the temple. Once a devotee was approached by a staggering drunk in San Francisco who looked at his robes and asked, "Hey, where's my old friend Jayananda?" Many devotees who took over Jayananda's old territory would meet people who would say things like, "Where's Johnny Ananda?" Or that man, he's the nicest and most pure man I've met. Or, I don't know much about your philosophy, but if Jayananda is into it, it must be all right. One woman public official on the San Francisco board was famous for giving the devotees a hard time during Rath Yatra. One year, when the devotees approached her, she asked, "Where's Jayananda?" On hearing that he had passed away, she broke down and began to cry. The purity in Jayananda's heart would touch even the most cynical. Wow. In Bhagavad Gita 5:7, Sri Krishna says that one who works in devotion, who is a pure soul, and who controls his mind, and one who controls his mind and senses, is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. Though always working, such a man is never entangled. Everyone loved Jayananda, since he had completely transcended the bodily conception. He would approach a drunk, a hippie, or a devotee with the same compassion and enthusiasm. He spoke to the supersoul and everyone responded accordingly. Like Maharaj Yudhishthir, Jayananda's enemy was never born, Ajata Shatru. Oh, and Haribol, Joshua Davis, Jaidev Prabhu, Haribol. And Pradyumna Prabhu and Mantramurti Mataji, Haribol. expert at engaging everyone. It is said that though Krishna has nothing to do with non-devotees, his devotees are even more compassionate than him and will try and engage them in the Lord's service. Jayananda was eager to see everyone engaged in Krishna's service. Whenever a new bhakta would come, Jayananda made him feel he was engaged in important work. He was older, bigger, and stronger than just about anyone in the temple, and everyone was glad to be working under him. His preaching style was very simple and direct. He would speak from the heart, he would speak from the heart to the heart. Once he was preaching to a couple of hippies while crawled under an automobile. That was visible. All that was visible of him was a pair of legs. Yet the two hippies stood there, transfixed by his message. During Rath Yatra time, he would organize a crew of cynics, hippies, bloopers, uncooperative personalities, and non-devotees off the street to help build the carts. He would get them to work for 10 to 14 hours a day, always glorifying them. Wow, amazing. The Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya 711. It is in the Chaitanya Charitamrita 711. It is stated, the fundamental religious system in the age of Kali is the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. Unless empowered by Krishna, one cannot propagate the Sankirtan movement. Because of the genuine compassion in Jayananda, Krishna gave him the unique ability to make people want to render devotional service, directly or indirectly. Materially renounced. Jayananda had almost no possessions, even during his years as a householder. Whatever he had, he used for the service of the temple and Srila Prabhupada. When he was gifted $5,000, he promptly donated that to Srila Prabhupada. In the introduction of the Nectar of Devotion, Srila Prabhupada acknowledges this contribution. Wow. For many years, he was almost single-handedly supporting the temple by driving his cab for 12 to 14 hours a day. When he was in his last days of his life, he used the money given to him for his treatment to support the Rath Yatra in Los Angeles. Wow. He used the money that was given for his treatment in the last days of his life. He gave that money. He doesn't care if his own life is supported or that he stays alive, but no, he gave that money for the support of Rath Yatra in Los Angeles. He was extremely careful with what he considered to be Srila Prabhupada's money. When selling incense, he would sleep on park benches in bitter cold rather than spend money on a motel. He used his considerable charm to get people to donate almost everything that was needed. And what he could not get for free, he made sure that he received a good value for the money spent. Yes, this is Krishna's money. This is Lakshmi Devi. So it needs to be used in the most careful, special way. His final lesson in material detachment came when it was discovered that he was suffering from cancer of the lymph and blood. Jayananda continued as if nothing had changed. When his body became frail and weak, he continued preaching, inspiring and organizing from his bed in the hospital. For him, the body was simply a means to render devotional service to the Lord. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 6:254, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu summarizes in the phrase, Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga, which means renunciation through the wisdom that comes from practicing devotional service. Jayananda was a true sannyasi, as one who did not just renounce material objects, but actually renounced the desire for these material objects. He was always eager to use everything for the service of Krishna. However, he had no personal desire for anything material. Jayananda, king of the Rath Yatra. Jayananda was the backbone of the Bay Area Rath Yatra for several years. Behind the scene, he would do everything for the preparation of the festival. He would beg food, flowers, funds, buy materials, and build the carts. He would arrange for the permits, organize the cooking organize the cooking and serving of prasad. Although things always went right down the wire, he would consistently succeed in fulfilling all these plans every year. After the festival, he would cook a cake or a pie for each and every person who had somehow helped in the festival. Because of his efforts, the Bay Area devotees to this day enjoy an amazingly harmonious relationship with the city officials. Wow, that's so nice though, huh? After the festival, he would cook a cake or a pie for each and every person who had somehow helped in the festival. This is such an important quality to make people feel appreciated, and then they want to just serve more and help more. In his last days, Jayananda was busy organizing the Rath Yatra from the hospital bed. He would talk to people on the phone, send his associates to meet various persons, and things began to miraculously materialize. Every moment of his life was preciously used in the service of Krishna. Mystic opulence. It is said that pure devotional service brings about much opulence. Though the devotees never seek them out, once they are there, they are used for the service of Krishna. Jayananda apparently could function with very little or even no sleep. Towards the last few days of the Rath Yatra, he would sleep less than 3 hours a day. Yet he was the most energetic and enlivened member of the crew. His propensity to consume prasad was astounding. He could consume buckets of halava, plates of samosas, and potatoes without any side effect. When he was in his last days, he was put on an intravenous diet. Is that how I say it? Anyways. And yet, he would often ask devotees to sneak in huge quantities of samosas and cheese potatoes for him, which he would happily consume without any apparent distress. He would sometimes sleep in the Bhagavatam classes since he was very tired. Yet later on, he could perfectly quote from the class or have a deep discussion about its contents. In Bhagavad Gita 4:26, Sri Krishna declares that one who is engaged in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. In the Narad Pancharatra, devotional service to the Lord is likened unto a queen attended by her maidservants in the form of material opulences, liberation, and mysticism. Jayananda never had any hankering for these, but when they came, he simply used them in the service of Krishna. Special relationship with Srila Prabhupada. Jayananda has complete faith in Srila Prabhupada. He perfected his devotion by making the instructions of Srila Prabhupada the very core of his life. He was advanced enough to realize that real association was through following the instructions of the spiritual master. Unlike most of the other devotees who would go out of their way to get some personal association of Srila Prabhupada, Jayananda was contented. I think that's what it's supposed to say. Jayananda was contented to work in the background, carrying out his instructions. He exemplified the superiority of association by Vani, by instructions, over Vapu, over personal association. Srila Prabhupada would invariably call of Jayananda when he was out of the temple. Srila Prabhupada would invariably call of Jayananda when he was in the temple. Jayananda would resist, saying, "No, I cannot go. I'm too dirty. I'm too fallen." Such were the transcendental exchanges between the spiritual master and his dear disciple. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 19:151, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that among all the living entities wandering throughout the universe, one who is most fortunate comes in contact with a representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus gets the opportunity to execute devotional service. Jayananda was one of these fortunate souls who came in contact with a pure devotee of the Lord, and under his guidance was able to perfect his devotional life. Conclusion. Jayananda passed away on May 1st, 1977. He joins the Krishna consciousness movement in 1967, just when it was in its beginning stages, just when it was in its beginning, and he left the planet a few months before Srila Prabhupada. In the scriptures, it is said that when the pure devotees of the Lord appear to execute his will, their associates invariably accompany them. One cannot help but speculate that Jayananda had only come to serve his eternal spiritual master. The fact that Srila Prabhupada was on this planet at the time of his passing away is also significant. It let Srila Prabhupada affirm that everyone should follow the example of Jayananda. We offer our most humble obeisances to Srimad Jayānanda Prabhu, the exemplary teacher of devotional service in Krishna consciousness. Jai Śrīpāda Jayānanda Prabhu ki jai. Ah, that was beautiful. I think I have such a bad memory. My dad was telling all sorts of stories about Jayānanda Prabhu, but just that last one. I think the devotees were saying something like they were requesting Srila Prabhupada to give Jayananda sannyas. And then Srila Prabhupada turned to Jayananda. I might be getting this wrong, but Srila Prabhupada turned to Jayananda and Srila Prabhupada said, they're saying that you should take sannyas. Would you, or something like that. He's like, everybody's telling me you should take sannyas. And then Jayananda looked at Srila Prabhupada and like, but Srila Prabhupada, I'm a Shudra. Like, and he said it like with so much feeling, like, I'm a Shudra. And he really felt it. Like, he really, like, it would just seem like the most absurd idea to him. And he's like, I'm a Shudra. And when he said that so sincerely, and Srila Prabhupada just like beamed and like was smiling. It was so, and I think my father was there. He saw that interaction and he said that the look of love that Srila Prabhupada had on his face, like that, like there's some kind of like, yeah, you could just see this like really deep internal connection between them both. And yeah. So that's our program for today. Nri Hari Prabhu, is there anything that you would like to say about Jayananda Prabhu?
Yes, although hereby attorney had much more interaction than I did.
Okay.
Yeah, somehow or other, yeah, we were in Los Angeles and he was in San Francisco, but it's amazing to me that all these qualities come through now afterwards, because Rath Yatra was such a big deal. We only had one Rath Yatra then, in like 74, and then all the devotees who come from everywhere. But I never, his name was mentioned. Oh, he organized, he did this, without him. And now you can see that without him, that spirit, I mean, Rath Yatra would have been possible. When we came back with our party, Gargamuni's party, from India to New York, it was 76, and it was the occasion of the triumphal Rath Yatra. He built the carts with the crew, but they found so Keshava, the Rath Yatra in 76. New York, I'm sorry, I didn't mention. Oh yeah, it was a big Rath Yatra, the most famous one. And so Keshava said, let's go see Jayananda. Keshava was my senior, but also my good friend, brother of Karandar Prabhu. So all the West Coast about. So Because there's Kesha was saying, nobody wants to come. Well, nobody, but a lot of brahmacharis are afraid of showing themselves because he's been going without sleep for about a week. He's been building this thing, and everybody's afraid. I mean, they can't perform. I'm not even close to what he could do, the capacity. So these are my brief encounters. Oh, and Laguna Beach, actually, your father knows very well. We had his deities for the restaurant. So all the boga was offered to Jayananda's deities. And it was very special. After he left, he had left. And I think there was like an auction of his belongings or something like that, that was to contribute towards Prabhupada, of course, to Srila Prabhupada's, society, and or for him, for the preaching efforts. And we got the, maybe even thanks to your father, we got the Gornitai deities of Jayananda. Here's Vatrini. She had much more intimate contact with him.
Yes,
Do you have time for me to speak?
Of course, yes, please.
Oh, okay. Please. Well, I don't remember when I met Jayananda, but he arranged for me to move from Los Angeles with my daughter Kunti, who was 4, and Nipana. And he just took care of us in San Francisco. At first, I had an apartment, and then Kunti went to Gurukula, and he got me a room in the San Francisco temple right next to the kitchen. And every day he'd come to see how I was. And
that drawing that you went to.
So then when I didn't have second initiation because I'd moved from LA to San Francisco, so I was going to get second initiation, and Srila Prabhupada was in Los Angeles, and Bhutatma wanted to have a big fire sacrifice at San Francisco temple, thinking that would he was the temple president, that would get Srila Prabhupada to come. So it didn't, and I had to receive Gayatri Mantra with a tape cassette. So one evening at twilight, I went into the Bhutatma's office, and of course Jayananda was there. And because of the time of day, they started talking about ghosts. I was thinking, for a second I was thinking, well, I'm getting Gayatri Mantra and they're talking about ghosts. But anything Jayananda talked about became transcendental. It always was connected to Krishna. And so then a few days later, Jayananda came to my room and he said, I'm going to see Srila Prabhupada in Los Angeles. What would you like to give him for Dakshin? And then he grabbed a drawing of Krishna that I'd done and framed. And I just kept it in my room because people were saying, oh, it's Krishna in the sky. He's all alone. And it says Om under him. It's a Mayavadi drawing. But Jayananda goes, oh, this is very nice. And he grabbed it. And since Jayananda said it was nice, suddenly all my objections flew out the door. And then he said, do you have any questions for Srila Prabhupada? I think I already mentioned this in one of your Zoom classes. Well, at that time, we had a mimeographed copy of a book by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada Saraswati. And each devotee was allowed 1 week to read the book. And I had just finished reading this book. And in it, Bhaktisiddhanta said, if the only question you should ever ask your spiritual master is, how may I serve you best? So I said, please ask Srila Prabhupada, how may I serve him best? So he came back, and shortly afterwards, he received a letter from Srila Prabhupada. And I'm such a dull-witted person, I don't have it memorized. I should have the whole letter memorized. He says, yes, you were right to Jayananda by going out and preaching in the streets. This is giving you life. My Guru Maharaj said, one who has life, he can preach. Then he said in the letter, thank your good wife, Tri Devi, for her beautiful drawings of a Krishna Leela. And as for Bhavatrini Devi Dasi, thank her for her drawing of Gopal Krishna. And I went, oh, okay, Gopal Krishna, not Mayavadi. And as far as how she can serve me, the best service is to chant Hare Krishna always and spread it to every town and village. So that was
Thanks to Jayananda.
thanks to Jayananda. But he would take me around with him. He'd be doing his rounds, getting ready for Rath Yatra, and he would just have me and my children walk with him. And one time we went into the garage, and this devotee woman that wasn't initiated yet, and I'd known her before I was a devotee. She was living in this garage and painting the Rath Yatra cart with swans and flowers. And she was so upset. And she's going, I hate Krishna. Look what he's doing to me. She was from Norway. Look what he's doing to me. I don't have the right paint. My paint brushes are broken. And he goes, oh, you are so fortunate. He said, you see, everything is coming from Krishna. I wish I was like that. and she passed away some years ago, but she ended up living in Vrindavan, and then when she come back to the West, for some reason, she'd be the pujari at the Honolulu temple. But he used to take everyone out. Oh, and I thought,
story about when you went, what he did to load up what he was.
oh, that's later, but this is still San Francisco. So he would take us to Berkeley to distribute. It wasn't leftover prasadam. He would make garunga potatoes, and because I was in the bedroom next to the kitchen, I watched him making it personally. He would get big stainless steel containers that look like those old-fashioned milk containers. You know, they get narrow at the top and they have a flat top with a screw top, full of sour cream donated to the temple. And then he would cut up potatoes, and sometimes he would do whole little potatoes, which wasn't a thing back then. It was hard to find little potatoes. So usually he cut up potatoes, left the skin on them. He deep fried them in ghee, and then he put like seasoning and mixed them into the sour cream. And we would go to there and we would distribute BTGs, and it was before book distribution days, mainly BTGs, but we would distribute BTGs and prasadam, and we would buy 50-gallon trash cans, big plastic trash cans, and put the garunga potatoes in it. And this one couple, they're going, look, they're eating out of garbage cans. And I thought, oh no, and then they go up and get their plate of food. They were just making a joke, like they're eating out of trash cans. And if it rained, he had yellow ducky colored raincoats and boots for everyone to wear. And we'd all just hop in the van and go there and distribute garunga potatoes in the rain with our little, hoodie, raincoats, and rubber boots. But he told me not to come because I had a baby on my back, and he didn't want her to get wet. So I didn't go when it rained except one time. And then he lived in a house next to the temple with his wife and another couple, Keshava Bharati and Kalindi, and their baby. And every day, the three women, the new cookbook had come out with the Krishna and the Cowherd Boys eating the original Krishna conscious Hare Krishna cookbook. So every single day we made lunch for Jayananda and Keshava Bharati and offered it to his Gornitai and fed them every single recipe in the book. And then his wife didn't like San Francisco, and she thought the devotees were too uptight, so she went to New Mexico, and she was living with some hippies and fasting, and Jayananda flew out there and said to her, "You can never become Krishna conscious without me," and brought her back. she, and so, and we used to bake cookies. I didn't realize he baked pies for everyone. I didn't know he cooked. Of course he did. All devotees cook, but um, we did a program where we made cookies and we went to all the old folks' homes and had kirtan and distributed cookies. And then she had joined with Siddha Srupananda, and he was talking to his wife had joined us, and Jayananda was talking with Siddha Srupananda, and his wife really didn't like San Francisco, so he said she could go to Hawaii and join him. And Jayananda asked me to accompany her. So a few months later, I went there, and that ended my wonderful time with Jayananda. Oh, there were other things. He used to arrange for us to go to people's houses and spend the night and do a program. So we went to who's now, I think he's Maharaj, and we stayed at his house with his Prabhu, with his wife and his newborn baby, and we had a preaching program. And Jayananda was pure, and he didn't like criticism. He could be heavy. I mean, he knew the philosophy, he knew the negative part of the philosophy. He didn't compromise on principles, but he just thought everyone was a wonderful devotee. Everyone, the birds, the bees, the drunks, the kings, whatever, the dogs. But one time my job was cleaning the women's prasadam room, and it had one of those accordion doors between the men's, and the men were still eating, and I was in the prasadam room there, and I had Nipana was crawling, and I somehow or other Jayananda arranged for her to have a little bib, and all the devotees would keep her pockets full of sweet balls. And so I was cleaning the floor, and she was crawling, eating sweet balls, and I could hear the men in the men's prasadam room, and one of them was saying, "When I'm sick, I just sleep as much as I can, and then I sleep it off." And another one said, "Well, I drink a lot of herb teas, and I do this and I do that." And everyone was giving their opinion how to become well. And they said, "Jayananda, what do you do when you're sick?" He goes, "I eat as much Maha Prasadam halava and as much Maha sweet rice, as much Maha Prasadam as I can, and I figure the germs just go back to Godhead and leave me alone." So when I didn't see him for a few years, and then in 76, I saw him at Rath Yatra in 74, and he gave Prabhupada his house. I don't even know where he was staying, but I got to see him, and while I was at Rath Yatra. Then I was living in New York, and Jayananda came, and his parents came, 76, and they came to, and he introduced me to his parents, and they gave him $10,000 for his treatment. And they said to me, "We know he's not going to use it for his treatment, but that's all right. Anything he does is." And then one day he couldn't do much. He ended up just running the guest bookstore, the gift shop in the bookstore, and his feet were really swollen, like Srila Prabhupada's were in his last days, and his sisters. Their feet and ankles were swollen. And he goes, "You know, look at me, Mother Bhavatrini. I can't do anything. I look at my feet. He goes, you know me, I can't even preach. All I can do is work hard for Prabhupada, and now I can't do anything. I even fall asleep when I'm giving class. And then he goes, but, and you know, but I have a soft spot in my heart for you because you're always serving Prabhupada no matter what, even though, you know, they throw you out of temples and they give you a hard time, you just keep serving Srila Prabhupada. So he was like saying I was an example to him. I was just like, okay. You know? So then after Rath Yatra, it was December and it was Christmas marathon, and I had children, so it was hard for me to go out. And Jayananda was the Sankirtan leader, and every day he would tell me that he'd found a babysitter for my two little children, and he would load the books into the van for me. This is December. He died in May. So I came back from Sankirtan one day, and they wanted me to go because I was probably the biggest book distributor at the time. I made at least $1,000 a day, and I did 20 to 40 big books. So he said, it's really important that to Srila Prabhupada, that you go out and don't worry, I have a babysitter for you. So I'd come back and Jayananda would be lying down because he couldn't sit up anymore on a chair they'd taken out of the van in the Sankirtan office. And then they had these boxes that were long boxes that carnations came in. And my two little girls would be in the boxes eating those striped candy canes that we gave out at Christmas. And they were so happy, and they'd be there. Jayananda was babysitting for them. So one day, the temple president and the GBC came up to me and said, Mother Bhavatrini, aren't you doing Sankirtan? You know, aren't you trying to raise money so you can follow Srila Prabhupada's instructions and go live in the Krishna Balaram temple? And I go, yes. And they said, well, do you have enough money to go now? And I said, yes, I think I do. And they said, well, can you please leave? Because otherwise you're going to kill Jayananda. So, so that's, I did. I left and I went to Vrindavan, and that's the last time I ever saw him. But I know I'm not being philosophical, or I know maybe Gurudev would criticize what I'm saying, but also his activities give more meaning to a description of his qualities. And I remember thinking when I first was associating with him that he was really special and he was pure. And no one else noticed except me, I thought at first. But I've always felt protected because he said that he had a soft spot in his heart for me, and that despite all my inebrities and bad qualities, that I just have to keep serving Srila Prabhupada, and I'll be somehow or other please him and all the devotees. And I remember Jayananda every morning when I get up and give my pranams to him. Okay, thank you for letting me speak.
Prabhu ki jai, all glories to him.
Haribol.
Jai. Wow, that was so beautiful. Thank you, Niri Hari Prabhu and Bhavatarani Mataji, but that was really, really special. Thank you.
Thank you.
Haribol. So we'll just do a short Mahamantra, and that will be our program for today. But yeah. Jai Jayananda Prabhu ki jai. All right. Let me just get the mridanga, 1 second. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Gurudeva, Jai Gurudeva, Gurudeva, Jai Gurudeva, Jai Gurudeva, 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 Jai Gurudeva, Jaya Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jai Shri Sachinandan Gaur Hari Ki Jai, Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai, Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai, Jai Srila Gurudev Ki Jai, Jai Srila Param Gurudev Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai, Saparshad Shri Gaur Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopigan Ki Jai, Shri Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai, Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Śrīpāda Jayānanda Prabhu Ki Jai, Jai. His glorious service to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Vrindai Tulsi Devai, Priyai Keshavashacha, Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi, Satyavatai Namo Namaha, Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat Pranams, Nri Hari Prabhu, Bhavatarani Mataji, Anadi Krishna Prabhu, Vidyalala Sadidi, Gargaraj Ji, Joshua Devas, Jaidev Prabhu, Ganga Mataji, Rohini Nandan Prabhu, and I don't know who else is there. I'm guessing Indira Mataji and Raseshwari Mataji, and maybe Shachi Devi is listening in the future. All Dandavat Pranams, dear devotees. Thank you so much for joining. And yeah, really, this is always the most enlivening thing for me is when we read about the life of these special devotees who served in such a dedicated way. And we know that Srila Prabhupada would be very happy, right? Because Srila Prabhupada himself said that we should observe this day, right? That's what we were just reading. Srila Prabhupada himself said that we should remember Jayananda Prabhu on this, Jayananda Prabhu on this day. And so,
Haribol.
Yeah. Yes.
I forgot, like the way the description, it paints him as kind of dry and serious, but he went along, like it said, he'd work under new devotees. So whatever we were doing, he would do it even if later on we decided it was nonsense, or Prabhupada might even tell us later it was nonsense. So when we started distributing Krishna book, George Harrison has a little blurb in the front, you know. And so one evening, Jayananda had just gotten back from book distribution and he was so excited. And he told me how he was going out and he was saying, "Oh, you know George Harrison." And he'd use a fake English accent and he would say that he was a friend of George Harrison's. And he would show them the little thing where George Harrison says the proof of the pudding is in the tasting, chant Hare Krishna. And he said, and everyone was buying the books from me. And he was so innocent and he was so happy and like a little kid. I just wanted to share that.
Wow, that's so sweet. Thank you.
He was big. And
Oh yeah, and he was very tall and muscular too. And he was like he looked like like a tough guy, or he's except as soon as he looked at you and smiled or spoke, he had a sweetness that was very thick and nice to be around. But he was all down to earth. He was down to earth. Yeah.
That's just from everything that you said and from what I'm reading, that seems like a really prominent quality is that he was always wanting to raise everybody up and inspire everybody to serve. Like he was always trying to bring out the best in each person and connect them with Krishna. Like he was always wanting the ultimate highest auspiciousness for each person that he came in contact with. And he tried to make that, tried his best to connect them in service, connect them to Srila Prabhupada in any way possible and encourage everybody as much.
But the speciality is that he wasn't thinking, oh, I need to bring out their good qualities. He was thinking, oh, here is someone that has wonderful qualities. I need to introduce him to Prabhupada. I need to connect him. It wasn't that he thought he had to bring out anyone's good qualities. He just saw everyone was good.
And he's trying to connect everybody. That was what you said.
That's it. Yeah.
He's trying to connect everybody because that is what brings out their highest good is connection, right?
Right.
Yeah.
He was so compassionate and he wanted to give everyone that love of Krishna and Prabhupada.
And engage everybody in service.
Right. And the holy name. He loved the Maha Mantra.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Haribol.
Yeah. It's just like that's the real quality is like the I guess generosity, like maybe that's not the right word, but yeah. There's just like, yeah, anyways, thank you. I'm feeling very inspired hearing all these wonderful glories. And yeah, thank you everybody for joining. And look, as I mentioned before, I'm going to be on a train tomorrow during the Shringa Chaturdashi. So maybe today I'll record just a 30-minute video. I don't know what I'm going to do. And then our next program, when I'll be here directly live, then I'll be at Radhakunt. And so I'll see you all for that. That will be the day of Madhavendra Puripad, Shyamananda Prabhu, no, Srinivas Acharya, I think. And then also Parameshwari Thakur. So we'll have a special program in honor of them and then continue with our Shikshashtaka program. All right, Dandavat Pranams, everybody. Haribol.